The physician's high and only mission is to restore the sick to health, to cure, as it is termed. Physician is a person skilled in the art of healing. High means of relatively great importance. Mission, a task or job that someone is given to do. Restore means to bring back to original state. Sick means a person affected with disease or ill health. Health means the condition of being sound in body, mind, or spirit. The physician's high and only mission is to restore the sick to health, to cure as it is termed. No controversy will arise from a superficial reading of this statement, and until Hahnemann's hidden meaning of the word sick is fully brought to view, the physician of any school will assent. The idea that one person will entertain so to the meaning of the word sick will be different at times from that which another will entertain. So, as long it remains a matter of opinion, there will be differences of opinions. Therefore, the homeopath must abandon the mere expression of opinion. It will never be possible to establish a rational system of therapeutics until we reason from facts as they act and not as they sometimes appear. Facts as they appear are expressed in the opinions of men, but facts as they are facts and truths from which doctrines are evolved and formulated, which will interpret to unlock the kingdoms of nature in the realm of sickness or health. Therefore, beware of the opinion of men in science. Hahnemann has given us principles which we can study and advance upon. It is the law that governs the world and not matter of opinions or hypotheses. We must begin by having a respect for law, for we have no starting point unless we base our propositions on law. So, as long as we recognize men's statements, we are in a state of change, for men and hypotheses change. Let us acknowledge the authority. The true homeopath, when he speaks of the sick, knows who it is that is sick, whereas the allopath doesn't know. The allopath thinks that the house in which the man lives in, which is being torn down, expresses all there is of sickness. In other words, that the tissue changes, which are only the results of the disease, or all that there is of the sick man. The homeopath observes wonderful changes resulting from potentized medicine and being compelled to reflect. He sees that crude drugs cannot heal the sick, and that what changes they do affect are not real but only apparent. Modern physiology has no vital doctrine in its teachings, and therefore no basis to work upon. The doctrine of vital force is admitted by the teachers of physiology, and thereof the homeopath sees that true physiology is not yet taught. For without the vital force, without simple substance, without the internal as well as external, there can be no cause and no relation between cause and effect. Now, what is meant by the sick? It is the man that is sick and to be restored to health, not his body, not the tissues. You will find many people who will say, I'm sick. They will enumerate pages of symptoms, pages of sufferings. They look sick. They tell you, I have been to the most eminent physicians. I have had my chest examined. I have been to neurologist. I have been to cardiac specialist and have had my heart examined. The eye specialist has examined my eyes. I have been to the gynecologist and have had my uterus examined, says the woman. I have been physically examined from head to foot, and they tell me I'm not sick. I have no disease. Many a times I have heard this story after getting 3 or 4 pages of symptoms. What does it mean? It is true, if that state progresses, there will be evidence of disease. That is evidences which the pathologist may discover by his physical examination. But at present, the patient is not sick, says the learned doctor. But what do all these symptoms mean? I do not sleep at night. I have pains and aches. My bowels do not move. Oh, well, you have constipation. That is the first thing that has been diagnosed. But do all these things exist without a cause? It would seem from one opinion that the constipation is a disease, but from another opinion it would appear to be the cause of disease. The diagnosis is made to apply to one as much as to the other. But this is the character of vagaries, so common to old school whims. These symptoms are but the language of nature, talking out as it were, and showing us clearly as the daylight the internal nature of the sick man or woman. If this state progresses, the lungs break down, the doctor says, "Oh, now you have consumption." Or a great change appears in the liver and he says, "Oh, now you have fatty degeneration of the liver." Or albumin appears in the urine and he tells the patient, "Now I am able to name your disease." You have some one forms of the Bright's disease. It is nonsense to say that prior to the localization of disease, the patient is not sick. Does it not seem clear that this patient has been sick and very sick even from childhood? Under traditional methods, it is necessary that a diagnosis be made before the treatment can be settled. But in most cases, the diagnosis cannot be made until the results of the disease have rendered the patient incurable. Again, take the nervous child. It has wild dreams, twitching, restless sleep, nervous excitement, hysterical manifestations. But if we examine all the organs of the body, we will find nothing matter with them. This sickness, however, which is present, if allowed to go on uncured, will in 20 or 30 years result in tissue change. The organs will become affected, and then it will be said that the body is diseased, but the individual has been sick from the beginning. It is a question whether we will start out and consider the results of disease or begin at the beginning with the causes. If we have material ideas of disease, we will have material ideas of means of cure. If we believe an organ is sick and alone constitutes the disease, we must feel that if we could remove the organ, we would cure the patient. A man has necrotic condition of the hand. Then if we believe that only the hand is sick, we would think that we had cured the patient by removing his hand. Say the hand is cancerous. According to this idea, it is cancerous in itself and from itself, and seeing he would later die from the cancer of his hand, we would conscientiously remove the hand and so cure the patient. For an eruption on the skin, we would use local means to stimulate the function of his skin and make it heal. And believing this eruption had no cause behind it, we would conscientiously think we had cured the patient. But this is the reductio ad absurdum, for nothing exists without a cause. The organs are not the man. The man is prior to the organs. From first to last is the order of sickness as well as the order of cure. From man to his organs, not from organs to the man. Well, then who this sick man? Then who is this sick man? The tissues could not become sick unless something prior to them had been deranged and so make them sick. What is there of this man that can be called the internal man? What is there that can be removed so the whole that is physical may be left behind? We say that man dies, but he leaves his body behind. We dissect the body and find all of his organs. Everything that we know by the senses belong to the physical man. Everything that we can feel with the fingers and see with the eyes, he leaves behind. The real sick man is prior to the sick body, and we must conclude that the sick man be somewhere in the portion which is not left behind. That which is carried away is primary, and that which is left behind is ultimate. We say the man feels, sees, tastes, bears, he thinks, and he lives. But these are only outward manifestations of thinking and living. The man wills and understands. The cadaver does not will and does not understand. Then that which takes its departure is that which knows and wills. It is that which can be changed and is prior to the body. The combination of these two, the will and understanding, constitute the man. Conjoined, they make life an activity. They manufacture the body and cause all things of the body. With the will and understanding operating in order, we have a healthy man. It is not our purpose to go behind the will and understanding, to go prior to these. It is enough to say that they are created. The man is the will and understanding and the house which he lives in his body. We must, to be scientific homeopaths, recognize that the muscles, the nerves, the ligaments, and other parts of the human's frame are a picture and manifest to the intelligent physician the internal man. Both the dead and the living body are to be considered not from the body to the life, but from the life to the body. If you were to describe the difference between two human faces and their character, and everything you observe of their action, you would be describing scarcely more than the will. The will is expressed in the face. It results in implanted on the countenance. Have you ever studied the face of an individual who has grown up a murderer or villain of some sort? There is no difference between his face and that of one who has the will to do good, to live uprightly. Go down into the lowest part of our great city and study the faces of these people. These people are night prowlers. They are deep late at night studying villainy. If we inquire into, we will see that their affections are of that kind. They have a stamp upon their faces. They have evil affections and an evil face. The countenance that is expressive of to the heart. Allopathy, pathology recognizes nothing but man's body. Yet one can easily confuse the allopath by asking him what man's thought is, what man is. The homeopath must master these things before he can perceive the nature of the cause of disease and before he can understand what cure is. It is the sole duty of the physician to heal the sick. It is not his sole duty to heal the results of sickness, but the sickness itself. When the man himself has been restored to health, there will be restored harmony in the tissues and in the activities. Then the sole duty of the physician is to put in order the interior of the economy, that is the well and understanding conjoined. Tissue changes are of the body and are the results of disease. They are not the disease. Hahnemann once said, there are no diseases but sick people, from which it is clear that Hahnemann understood that the diseases so-called the Bright's disease, liver disease, etc., but the grosser forms of the disease results, that is to say, appearances of disease. There is a first disorder of government, and this proceeds from within outward until we have pathological changes in the tissues. It is the practice of medicine today. The idea of government is not found, and the tissue changes only taken into account. He who considers disease results to be the disease itself, and expects to do away with these as disease is insane. It is an insanity in medicine, an insanity that has grown out of the milder forms of mental disorder in science, crazy whims. The bacteria are results of disease. In the course of time, we will be able to show perfectly that the microscopical little fellows are not the disease cause, but that they come after that. They are scavengers accompanying the disease, and that they are perfectly harmless in every respect. They are the outcome of the disease, are present wherever the disease is, and by the microscope it has been discovered that every pathological result has its corresponding bacteria. The old school consider these the cause, but we will be able to show that the disease cause is much more subtle than anything that can be shown by a microscope. We will be able to show you by a process of reasoning, step by step, the folly of hunting for disease caused by implements of the senses. In a note, Hahnemann says, the physician's mission is not, however, to construct so-called systems by interweaving empty speculations and hypotheses concerning the internal essential nature of the vital processes, and the mode in which disease originates in the invisible interior of the organisms. We know that in the present day, people are perfectly satisfied if they can find the name of the disease. They are supposed to have an idea cloaked in some wonderful technicality. Except in a few acute diseases, no diagnosis can be made, and no diagnosis is needed to be made except that the patient is sick. The more one thinks of the name of a disease, so called, the more one is beclouded in the search for a remedy. For then the mind is only upon the results of the disease, not upon the image expressed in the symptoms. A patient of 25 years of age with gravest inheritances of 20 pages of symptoms and with only symptoms to furnish an image of sickness is perfectly curable if treated in time. After being treated, there will be no pathological results. Life will go on to old age without any tissue description. But that patient, if not cured at an early age, will take on disease results in accordance with the circumstances of his life and his inheritances. If he is a chimney sweep, he will be subject to the diseases peculiar to chimney sweeps. If she is a housemaid, she will be subject to the diseases peculiar to housemaids, etc. The patient has the same diseases as he had when he was born. This array of symptoms represent the same state before the pathological conditions have been formed as after. And it is true, if he has liver disease or brain disease or any of many tissue changes that they call disease, you must go back and procure these very symptoms before you can make a prescription. Prescribing for the results of disease causes changes in the results of disease, but not in the sickness except to hurry its progress. We will see peculiarities running through families. In the beginning, it is a primary state which is presented only by signs and symptoms, and the whole family needs the same remedy or cognate of that remedy. But in one member of the family, the condition runs to cancer, in another to phthisis, etc. But all from the same common foundation. This fundamental condition, which underlines the disease of the human race, must be understood. Without a knowledge of this, it will be impossible to understand the acute miasmatic diseases, which will be considered later. It is a well-known fact that some persons are susceptible to one thing and some to another. If an epidemic comes upon the land, only a few come down with it. Why are some protected, and why do others take it? These things must be settled by the doctrines of homeopathy. Idiosyncrasies must be accounted for. Many physicians waste their time searching after the things that make their patient sick. The sick man will be made sick under every circumstance, whereas the healthy man could live in a lazaretto. It is not the principal business of the physician to be hunting in the rivers and the cellars and examining the food we eat for the cause of disease. It is his duty to point out the symptoms of the sickness until a remedy is found that covers the disorder. That remedy, which will produce on healthy men similar symptoms, is the master of the situation. In the necessary antidote will overcome the sickness, restore the will and understanding to order and cure the patient. To get at real nature of the human economy and to lead up from that to sickness opens out a field for investigation in a most scientific way. Sickness can be learned by the study of provings of drugs upon the healthy economy. Hahnemann made use of information thus obtained when he stated that the mind is the key to the man. The symptoms of the mind have been found by all his followers and to be the most important symptoms in a remedy and in a sickness. Man consists of what he thinks and what he loves, and there is nothing else in man. If these two grand parts of the man, the will and understanding, be separated, it means insanity, disorder, death. All medicines operate upon will and understanding. First, sometimes extensively on both, affecting man in his ability to think or to will, and ultimately upon the tissues, the functions and sensation. In the study of aurum, we find the affections are most disturbed by that drug. Man's highest possible love for his life. Oram uh, so destroyed this that he does not love his life. He will commit suicide. Argentum, on the other hand, so destroys man's understanding that he is no longer rational. His memory is entirely ruined. So, with every proved drug in materia medica, we see them affecting man's mind first and proceeding from the mind to the physical economy, to the outermost, to the skin, to the hair, to the nail. If medicines are not thus studied, you will have no knowledge of them that you carry with you, that you can carry with you. The materia medica has been established upon this basis. Sickness must therefore be examined by a thorough scrutiny of the elements that make up morbid changes that exist in the likeness of drug symptoms. To the extent that drugs improving upon healthy men have brought out symptoms on animal ultimates, must be studied sickness with the hope of adjusting remedies to sickness in man under the law of similars. Ultimate symptoms, function symptoms, sensorium symptoms, and mind symptoms are all useful and none should be overlooked. The idea of sickness in man must be formed from the idea of sickness perceived in our materia medica. As we perceive the nature of sickness in a drug image, so must we perceive the nature of sickness in a human being to be healed. Therefore, our idea of pathology must be adjusted to such a materia medica that we possess, and it must be discovered wherein these are similar in order to heal the sick. The totality of symptoms written out carefully is all that we know of the internal nature of sickness. Then the proper administration of similar remedy will constitute the art of healing.